Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Business Transition Roadmap podcast. I am Elizabeth Ledoux, and I'm founder of the Transition Strategists, and am here today to hopefully talk to you a little bit about becoming an empty nester, a business empty nester. It's kind of exciting and also kind of I don't know, frightening at the same time to think about graduating your business and graduating your legacy and putting it into somebody else's hands to take forward without you. So, today, what I thought we would do is do just a deep dive into the heart of your business, into your leadership and your legacy. And I want you to, well, I invite you to do a little bit of visioning with me. I want you to imagine that as of today, that you're no longer in your business. So not 6 months from now, not a week from now, not 5 years from now, not someday, not after one more big deal or something that happens, but literally right today, you are out of your business. And I want you to just kind of sit back and take a deep breath and let that sink in for a minute and ask yourself, what's your gut response to that imagining that? Like, what is your gut response to imagining that today, right now, you never step foot in your business again? So are you feeling maybe some relief? Like, oh, good, I don't have to go back and it's their problem. They'll figure it out. Whatever happens, happens. Are you having a little panic attack? Like, oh my gosh, they wouldn't be ready. The business would fail. I don't know what to do or to think. Yeah, is it peace or is it chaos? So just take a moment to think about that. And let's talk a minute about the void that happens when a business owner is no longer there. So you can imagine your chair is empty and your office is empty. So nobody's in that office at the moment. You can imagine that your emails are continuing to come. They're piling up and nobody's responding to them because they don't have your login information or whatever. And but the emails are continuing to come. The phone is continuing to ring. People are still needing decisions made and problems solved. And really, your office is empty. And so if you have been steering the ship, imagine that you're not in that room. You're not in that chair to steer the ship anymore. You may have some great team members and some great people that you think are ready. And so if you think about that and go a little bit deeper, what's the ripple effect in your business that happens if you're imagining no longer being there? Does your leadership team rise to the occasion? Can they do that? Or are they going to have to scramble? And what about your family? What are they doing, dealing with you no longer being there? And it could be due to a variety of reasons, but probably if you're no longer there in a simple event and it's unforeseen, probably something pretty challenging has happened to you. So what's your family dealing with? Not only maybe the challenge of a loss or you not being there for some reason, but also the business, the money, the family, the employees, and their well-being. And what about your clients or your customers? So if you think about that, most of the time in our experience, most of the time when a business transition is an event, there usually is chaos. You may have set your team up or set the family up as best you can for a transition of you being out suddenly. However, usually it's really not that pleasant and it really is not that peaceful. There's a lot of chaos that goes on. So my podcast today isn't about a doomsday exercise, but it is about asking you to imagine what it would be like. And now I'd like to imagine, for you, probably not a happy thing, but you may be no longer on the planet. So you might have left your business horizontally You're going to leave it vertically or horizontally, so one way or the other. So you may have left your business horizontally, but I want you to consider other people. I want you to consider the people that you've been taking care of and what the impact is to them and how they're getting through that. So, stepping away from your business, it is a challenge for the business, but it's also very personal for you. For many of us, including me, because I'm a founder owner of a business as well, it is a part of our identity. We've worked on it for decades, sacrificed. We love it. And for many of us, it's a big part of our purpose in our lives. We've really become accustomed to being the leader of the business and also caring for all the people because we can make decisions. So the thought of stepping away can be terrifying, but yet not stepping away or failing to have what we call a roadmap, a timeline, it can leave the people that you care about the most in a vulnerable position and maybe in a position that they're just not ready for. And I don't know that anybody's really ready for a business owner to leave, but we can do a pretty good job of working our way out of being an owner as best we can. So if you think about kids, so I'm thinking about my kids, and now they're 35 and 36 and have been on their way for many, many years. They're doing just great. And if I think about my kids and go back to being a mom, one of my number one jobs as a mom, in my opinion, when I was in that stage of helping them to grow and learn, one of my number one jobs as a mom was to help them be independent of me, help them to create their own lives forward and help them to be successful. And not only just be successful, but be confident in themselves, find their own passion and their own vision, and do the things that they loved. So if you think about transitioning a business, it doesn't have to be that you're completely out. So if I go back to becoming an empty nester, that started probably when my kids were about 14 or maybe even earlier, helping them to choose what was right and what was wrong and how to do things. And, even how to walk across the street or tie your shoes or whatever, all of those things they learned and they didn't know them before. So when I think of a transition for a business, I think of it as you helping them to become empty nesters so that they can take the business that they're working in, the business that hopefully they love, the business that they see a future for, and they can take it forward without you. Now, if that sounds like a sad thing to you, that's probably very normal because, of course, you're loving being there and there are always challenges, but there still foundationally is a reason why you're there. So if your job is to help them thrive without you, how do you do that? The idea behind that for us is building a roadmap, because if I build a roadmap, I have the opportunity to move and use time to my advantage. So if I can use time to my advantage, I can, one, look at what I want. So I'll tell you a little bit about my story. My story, I was getting pressure from my team to actually figure out what would happen to the business and what would happen to their jobs and what would happen to the clients if I all of a sudden wasn't here. And that started like 4 or 5 years ago. And when you do a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, in a small business, typically one of the biggest threats is having a sole owner. If you have a sole owner, that's a pretty big threat, because if all of a sudden you're not there, the business is at risk. And there's nothing that you're going to do about it. You don't control potentially whether you're there or not in that instance. So anyway, getting pressure from my team, decided to walk through, even though I thought I wasn't ready, which is like many, and I do this work with people. So I was like, oh, I don't need to do that. I'm not ready for this, but I did it. And I did it not for me. I did it so that I could help them understand and have some peace on what would happen if something happened to me. What I found out along the way, which was really cool, is I found out a lot about my husband. I found out a lot about what he envisioned and what he wanted in his life. He found out a lot about me. And then I found out that I could have a roadmap forward without having a successor chosen. I could have a roadmap forward without knowing exactly when I wanted to leave and exactly how I was going to navigate. And it was pretty cool because about a year and a half later, a lady showed up in my world that I actually recognized could be a successor for me. And the thing is that I could recognize she was a potential. And I also knew, because of the work that I'd done with my husband, that our time frame was about 7 to 10 years. Like 7 to 10 years. I started that early. So fast forward, really worked out well. And what it gave me is confidence and clarity, and it gave my team peace. It gave them some confidence as well in what to do. So I think this roadmap concept is great. So I still have about probably 6 years or so before I'll make a decision whether or not I'm leaving or not. Could be 4 years, but I have a successor who's engaged now, which is exciting. And so the roadmap, I'm just giving you my example because it's a living, breathing document that gives you a vision forward where you're able to recognize opportunities and also know if you're not doing what you need to do to get to where you want to go. So it's important. Many of us aren't ready. Many of us don't know what we want to do. And the thought of being an empty nester is terrifying. An empty nester business, no more business, like no more kids at home. What am I going to do with my time? So it takes time to do a transition well. And it's a very fun journey if you engage in it. So a meaningful exit. Let's talk about that. A meaningful exit. What does that mean? If you're going to go and do this over time, like my job now that I see it, again, is very similar to my job as a parent when I was getting my kids ready to go to college, to have them go and literally not need me. They still called me because they knew that I had some information that might be helpful, but they would have been fine on their own if I hadn't been there. So a meaningful exit, it's not just about leaving, but it's about leaving well. It's about helping your successors know how to run this company in the good times and the bad times, because a lot of business owners will hold on in the bad times and then transition in the good times. Pretty challenging for your successor to only learn how to run a business in good times. So when you think about leaving, it's about also for you moving towards something. What's your next adventure? If you're going to be an empty nester and your successors are flying forward without you, how do you, what about you? So start dreaming again, doing some interesting things with people that you haven't touched base with for a while, maybe learning something or doing something that you have always thought about doing. And many of our clients actually do things like, they will go get like their catamaran bareboat certification so that they can go rent boats and, go explore islands and do things like that. Another one, they started doing some art. Another one decided that they wanted to get their golf game down to, be a scratch golfer. Some people are traveling, if that's something that's of interest to you, and they're traveling for extended periods of time. So what does your next adventure look like? What are you going to move towards? And you can test it out if you have a timeline and a roadmap. You can test out, starting to help your team do more without you, maybe taking some extended time off that you haven't been able to take probably since you founded the business. Starting to have some conversations with people so that, especially family members, if they're in the business or coming into the business, What's that mean for them and how does it work? You can have all of those conversations and you can explore what's next for you. If you don't like it, you can do something else. So it's sort of the fun trial and error to see what really is fulfilling to you. And maybe it's being part-time in the business with your kids there too, so that you can come in and bother them now and then. And maybe it's just trying to separate from the business completely because you'll be happier there and not even have any interest in the business at all. So when you think about this roadmap forward and you imagine yourself literally not being there today, do you have clarity? Do you have peace? And do the people around you have clarity and peace? That's a good question to ask. If they don't have clarity and they don't have peace, where is their biggest area of lack of clarity? Where is it most unclear for them? And if you have a timeline, if you have a roadmap, you can put those things on the roadmap to help them learn or help document or get those things cleared up if it has to be with a lawyer or somebody else to do some estate planning and all of that kind of thing. All of that can be done in this journey that you're getting ready to go on. And it feels pretty good, I have to tell you, to be grounded in knowing what you want. Now, again, a roadmap is just an intention on paper. So if you find that you need to shift it or move it or something happens to someone else around you, that it's easy to move it. It's easy to shift and you know that you're doing it. So as we close this podcast up and you're thinking about the visioning exercise that we did in the beginning, the visioning exercise was just to give you a little bit of a spark, just to think a little bit about what it might be like for others, because you may not be on the planet, but what do you think it would be like for others? What kind of a legacy will you have left? What kind of clarity and what kind of peace will they have? Not you, but what kind of clarity and what kind of peace will they have? And if you explore that a little bit, you can find the places where they're going to have the least amount of clarity, where it's most unclear, and where it's going to be more chaotic for them and not as peaceful. And on your roadmap, you can start to think about, this year I'm going to take care of this, and next year I'm going to take care of that. And 2 years from now, I'm going to start really diving into my successor. And 3 years from now, I hope that they're on board, or successors. I hope they're all on board, but I might start to have conversations a couple years from now. There always is some cleanup to be done, and that can all be on your timeline. You don't have to be ready to leave. You just need to be ready to begin. And so that's where the good is. That's where a lot of the growth lives. That's where the connection to you and your spouse or your partner, your business partner, it's where you can have some amazing conversations about what life is and what you want life to be and how to get there with support. This, I hope, is a gentle nudge to start building your roadmap. And I don't want you to build it out of fear, right? In the visioning exercise, there's fear, and likely there should be some fear because your business isn't ready. You're not ready. Family's not ready. Kids aren't ready. All of that stuff. But I don't want you to build it out of fear. I want you to build it probably more out of love and out of goodness. Your idea of taking care of these people, and your idea also of taking care of yourself, because as you get closer and closer and closer to your event of exit, which will happen, right? Time takes care of everything for us. So as you get closer, the stress and the pressure on you gets bigger. And again, through my story, I started so early because of my team. I was feeling a little pressure from them, and it lifted so much off of my shoulders. So I'm just sharing my experience, but I also see that every day in the clients and the work that we help them do and to navigate. So there's love for you, there's love for the team, there's love for the family. You've got love for your clients, and they feel that they feel that. So they have that sense of peace and they have that sense of clarity. I just encourage you to do the work now, and so that someday when it comes, they can say that you and they together built something that would last. And when the time came, they were ready. I'd like for this to be something that's on your terms so that you leave on your terms and you don't leave on someone else's. So just encouraging you with a good nudge to get started. We have some great programs that'll help you because this is work that typically owners haven't done before. And so I'd love to invite you to come and explore some of the programs that we have. We've got a new program that's called Evolve. And this morning I was on a call with a person out of Connecticut. And he asked me the question, he goes, oh, evolve. And he said, why, what's evolving? Is the owner evolving? And I said, well, if you really look at it, the owner is evolving from their old job to maybe, of leader, decision maker to mentor. And so they're moving and evolving to a next adventure. You've also got, the business is going to evolve because the team is going to have new leadership. Your clients are going to evolve because they potentially are going to be working with different people. As your team moves up, you might have to fill in some of those spots because hopefully they're going to be able to grow with you. And so you have the team evolving, you have you evolving, the family's going to evolve. The business is going to evolve, and there's so much excitement truly in getting this ready to go. Sometimes it's all new and all different, which to me as an entrepreneur is so much more fun than running the old business. I get to reinvent it as the leader and the person as I start to work my way out. So thanks for joining me. I hope this resonated with you. And if it did, just share it with someone and check out our website so you can learn more about the Evolve program that we have.